here's the story. We'll do the Yom Yom afterwards. The story is told about a Jew. I've told you the story before, but we're recording it now. A Jew, and his name was Lipschitz. And he was a young boy. He went through the Holocaust. And somehow or other, he managed to survive. All of his family was killed. And he somehow or other made it to America. He had an uncle or something that lived in America. And I guess he got out of the Holocaust. He was like 15, 16 or something. So by the time he made it to America, he was already 18, 9. And anyway, he went into business and he threw himself into business. And of course, he was, half crazy from all the things that he saw and all the things that happened to him. And so he went into business and he succeeded. He got more and more succeeded. And of course, Judaism to him was just a big curse, wanted nothing to do with it. He saw what happened to Jews in the Holocaust and what the reward for being Jewish is. So he stopped putting on tefillin, and he changed his name from Lipschitz to Lef. And he moved to, like I said, to California, and he opened business, and he was very successful. But the problem was the nights. He would come home at night, and all the thoughts and everything would haunt him, and he couldn't go to sleep. So he'd sit in front of the television, and he would take a few beers and drink a few beers, and until he would go to sleep in front of the television. And then in the morning, he would then in the morning, someone over there has their thing. Okay. Someone has their microphone open, and as a result, you can hear everything that's being said by your next door neighbor, whoever it is, but it's disturbing. Okay, so he sat in front of the television, he drank beers until he would just go to sleep. And then early in the morning, crack of dawn, he would wake up and take a shower and get dressed and go to work. And that's how he lived his life. That's how he lived his life. Anyway, one night he's sitting in front of the television, and he's, had a couple of beers, and he's watching the television, and all of a sudden, he's flicking through the channels, and suddenly he sees an old man sitting in the middle of this sort of big, long table. He's sitting on the table, and once in a while it pans around there's a big crowd watching him, also with guys with beards, and they sing sort of songs, and can't figure out what's going on. And then this old man starts to talk. He starts to talk, and he watches the guys, and the guy's talking in Yiddish. He says, who is going to watch a program like this? This guy must have a rating of like 3, maybe his wife is watching him and his grandmother's. Who would watch a program like this? Right? Especially in California, everything is open and fresh and new and wide and everything. And there's this guy sitting talking Yiddish. So I figured, okay, maybe it's the beginning of some sort of a movie or something's going to happen when the action is going to start. So he's watching, nothing happens. So he flicks it off, and he goes to another, watches some of, but he gets interested. Maybe something happens. So he goes back to that station. He watches the same thing. The guy's talking Yiddish, and he understands a little bit of the Yiddish, but he doesn't understand at all what he's talking about. What's this topic at all? And there's a translation that's floating across the bottom of the thing. And it's talking about, the Torah portion says like this, but it says like this, and Rashi says like this, and that's what type of a thing, like what type of a crowd has he got? For sure, for sure, the guy has not got any sponsors. No one would sponsor them like this. No one. But it's interesting, and he watches and he tries to get away from it, but he comes back to it, and he's watching an interesting looking man. And obviously he's got some sort of a positive message. It looks like he's saying something, but he just keeps talking Yiddish. And he sees floating across the bottom a translation, and it says, the Rebbe says, and anyone who does not put on tefillin because of the Holocaust is giving a prize to Hitler. So he saw that go, and he thought, wow, I don't put on tefillin. And I don't put on tefillin because of the Holocaust. And I'm not going to put on tefillin either, because of what God did to us. And suddenly says that really, who's benefiting from that? Who's benefiting from, so the only one benefiting from that is Hitler. And that's what he would love, is that the Jews, if stopped being Jews. That's what he wanted. So anyway, once in a while under the thing would float the address to call or a phone number to call. So it came in the morning, he called up the number, and it happened to be, the number was a Chabad house, I guess in California. So he went down to the Chabad house over there and he asked if he could get a review of what was said last night. And they said, sure. They asked him if he wanted to put on tefillin, and he said, no, maybe yes, and that. And he read it over and he started thinking, he said, yeah, I want to put on tefillin. In fact, I want to buy a pair of tefillin. I'm not going to let the Hitler win. Bad enough what he did back then. He's not going to continue. And he changed his name back to Lipschitz, and he, which is not an essential thing in Judaism, but he still changed his name back to Lipschitz, and he decided to become a religious Jew. So I think that the message is very clear now with these pro-Palestinian things. If you look, there's a sentence in the Bible in Deuteronomy at 32:21, and it's over there with the song Ha'azinu. And it says that Moses told the Jewish people, he's quoting God, and God says, you Jewish people, you have served things which are not God, and you've made me angry with your emptiness, and I'm going to send you a nation which is not a nation, and a disgusting people. Novel achisem. I'm going to make you mad with a not nation, and that's what these Palestinians are. It's not a nation. It's a non-entity, and the people are all angry. We have the Palestinian. And I read in another place that anytime a person says land of Israel, Yisrael, it adds holiness. And so all these people that are against, they don't say Israel. They don't say Israel belongs to us. They say Palestine, which Palestine never was such a thing as Palestine, right? It's just an invention of, the what did they call it? The state of Israel. It's an invent. There's no. They never had a flag. They never had a stamp. They never had an anthem. They never had a capital. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing whatsoever. So it's a non-nation, and the purpose of this non-nation, like it says in Deuteronomy 32:21, is to wake the Jews up. And waking the Jews up means start doing commandments. Start doing what God wants. No big deal. Put on tefillin. You'll taste and you'll see how good it is. You'll see that you're defeating Hitler. And that's what these people are. That's what these people are. The representatives of Amelek, right? They went and killed and raped and burned and people. They did it for a few hours. The Germans did it for years, right? They did it for years, for 5 years, just in the most cold, calculated ways. These people were just hot-blooded animals, just simple animals, Okay, they did, non-animalistic things, but that's the Nazi part of them. But you want to defeat Amelek, that's the way to do it. Do it the way that Mr. Leff did. Start doing a commandment. Light candles on Shabbat. But that's the biggest weapon we have to transform the world to a good and a healthy and a holy place. And now all those people that were quiet when the Jews were being killed in the Holocaust, now they're outspoken. Now they're on the streets and they're saying, we regret we were quiet back then. We should have called out back then. They're taking sides with the power of evil, of destruction, of emptiness, of meaninglessness. And we Jews, we have to take the opposite side, the power of construction, the power of meaning, the power of blessing, of the creator of the universe, not the destroyer. We can do it, and it's happening now right in front of our eyes. So tell your friends, your Jewish friends, why don't you put on tefillin once? Ladies, light Shabbos candles. You'll see how good it is. You'll see how wonderful it is, how it illuminates the whole world. And like Mr. Leff, you'll come to a realization that that's our true power. That's the salt we talked about in the first mimer, the salt that fixes up, sweetens up the whole world. Have a good day. I'm going to say, we'll do the Yom Yom.